Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm Jessica Bod from Yale School of Medicine. These are my
My
co-presenters.
name is Joshua Ellis. I'm from the University of Arkansas.
I'm Jeffrey Hayes from the Indiana University School of Medicine.
And this talk is capitalizing on the diversity tax. We have nothing to disclose. We wanted to sort of express that we speak only for ourselves. You're going to hear a little bit about our personal journeys, but what we hope to draw out from what we share is some widely applicable themes and ideas. The goals and objectives for this talk include understanding how the diversity tax impacts faculty from underrepresented and marginalized groups, to list ways that faculty engaged in DEI work can use that work to support academic advancement, and to describe examples of leveraging DEI work to gain support from EM department chairs. Just as by way of disclaimer, we did conceive of and write this talk before the NIH issued its most recent directives in April. So some of the specifics may have changed, but I think the idea remains. And also to just sort of begin with a statement and a commitment to what this talk is really about. This is a joint statement made by multiple EM organizations. Emergency medicine is committed to creating an atmosphere of cultural awareness, diversity, inclusion, and belonging within our specialty, our workplaces, and the communities we serve. EM will promote and cultivate a diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment for patients, physicians, practitioners, healthcare teams, and learners, and surely that has not changed.
Okay. I'll begin with discussing what our diversity tax is. Many of you guys in this room should be familiar with the diversity tax. It's a common theme. Other words for it have been race ambassador. It's this idea that you're being a large burden of the DEI or diversity improvements and improvements for the experience of our diverse and minority candidates is falling on the shoulders of minority faculty in disproportion. The big core concept is that time is limited, and utilizing time and resources, particularly with just minority faculty, is disadvantageous to their professional advancement. This is often assigned, it's as opposed to volunteered by faculty. It's time intensive. It takes from other professional advancing programming, and the worst case is it's unsupported and undervalued.
You'll forgive me, I have never been able to stand behind a podium in my life, so I'm going to wander around as we talk. Diversity takes many forms, and for the people in this room who engage in mentoring work or inclusion work, or who are they themselves underrepresented, you might recognize some of these activities. You might see the work that you are doing here, which may or may not be compensated. So really what we're trying to get at is, how do we take these activities that we do or are assigned to us and turn that into money in the bank? How do we advance our careers? How do we get appropriate compensation? Looking at the numbers, you can see that we're not really moving the mark very well in representational diversity amongst academic faculty. Just to orient you to the slides, this is a tracking from 1980 to 2020 of racial representational diversity in academic emergency medicine specifically. So you'll see that the numbers are a percentage of faculty who identify as that specific group. So we have white faculty here, Asian faculty here, Black faculty here, and Hispanic faculty here. Each different colored line represents either medical school faculty, senior medical school faculty, or department chairs. And we can see how the demographics along a racial lens have changed or not changed over the course of the last 40 years. Particularly for our Black and Hispanic colleagues, we see the representation in these critical roles in our medical education structure to be pretty flat over the last 40 years. If we look at this data through a gender lens as well, we also see lack of significant progress. If you estimate the population of women in the country, we're at about 50 to 52%. You can see representation of women as chairs, program directors in academia or residency still lags below where we're at from a population set. So you got to ask yourself, might this tax be contributing to this problem that we're seeing? And what can we do to buck or mitigate that trend?
So now we're going to talk a little bit about our personal stories, how we got to the positions that we're in, and just to keep in mind that each individual might take a different path. We all certainly took different paths, but the idea is to get recognition academically for the work that you do and protected time. So my story begins with Dowan Boatwright. Anyone who knows Dowan knows that he is a fan of the fist bump, so this represents him. He fist bumped his way into my heart when we started working together to recruit more diverse residents to our residency, which was having a diversity problem at the time, both racial and gender diversity. I was brought onto the team as the sub-internship director, being heavily involved in recruitment, and we were working together to build a program that would be able to recruit, support, instill a sense of belonging in diverse residents. We did that work over a period of time. I'm very proud to say we've sustained the diversity of our residency since 2016 when we initiated and we turned around some of the concerning trends that we were having. And we were able to publish that work and turn it into a paper. At the same time, I was serving as the clerkship director, still do, love to do it. And every so often, I will get a harassment mistreatment report, which is when people say, something bad has happened in the clerkship. Dr. Bob, what are you going to do about it? And fortunately, I don't have faculty throwing instruments or belittling people or screaming at people, but what I do have is microaggressions in the learning environment. I have usually patients making racially inappropriate comments or flirtatious comments, and the concern from the student that comes to me is, well, the faculty didn't say anything. Nobody did anything. Nobody checked in with me. And so I became interested in bystander interventions and how to support students in a chaotic and very difficult to control learning environment, and how we as a faculty can do better for them and for all our learners, not just students. So I developed a curriculum to bring this to the residents and the faculty. And then I started to think, well, I can maybe grow this curriculum. I applied for some small grants. I got a pilot grant. I was able to hire actors to kind of workshop scenarios. Then I applied for a larger grant to scale the project. And through this kind of building of momentum, I built some expertise on the subject, and was able to network with my co-presenters, wonderful people. It's so fun to work on committees with them. And we were able to turn that sort of thing into national presentations, and kind of get ourselves out there in terms of becoming national experts in this world. And so with the strength of that, with the papers we published, with the presentations we did, I was selected to be one of the culture and climate officers for my department, and that is a role that comes with protected time.
My pathway into this journey was really quite informal. And it all started over dinner with one of my mentees, Dr. Henderson, who's currently an assistant program director at my institution. And we were sitting there talking. Wouldn't it be great, she said, if we could create a place for queer residents and queer students and queer faculty to come together and talk about queerness in emergency medicine? What is it like? What's unique about being queer in emergency medicine? What are the benefits? What are the challenges here? What can we contribute, and how can we bring our authentic selves to work to benefit our patients and to benefit our departments? And so we thought, how are we going to put the flag out and signal to our queer interested colleagues that this might be something they could participate in? So we hosted a RuPaul's Drag Race watch party at my house. Initially, it all started social. This was funded out of our pockets as faculty. We would watch and we would engage. Faculty came, residents came, people who had an interest in this sort of working area. Through that, more formalized curriculum began to develop. We were able to apply for an $800 grant from our university to start an LGBTQ book club, which was then noticed by the Department of Radiology. It was then noticed by the Medical School Alliance. We started an outreach barbecue, and things eventually grew until one day, we participated with the School of Medicine in the Indianapolis Pride Parade. The largest group in this image, by far, are members of the Department of Emergency Medicine. It was a school-wide marching effort, and it became clear to the dean and the executive associate deans that emergency medicine was not messing around and that we were here to be serious. That helped us demonstrate value and the worth of the work that we were doing. Following that event, and the continued recognition of the work that we did, people became interested. Then, articles started to be written about the work that we were doing. the residents got hyper engaged, started coming up with operational changes. We started studying and researching the work that we were doing. We started presenting to the residency. We took over Journal Club from the residency one year. We started a prep in the emergency department program. All this grew and grew and grew until ultimately resulted in protected time and academic and career advancement for the faculty involved in this effort. These are things that we are continuing to push for and advocate for in the best ways that we can while maintaining compliance with some of the new regulations that came through. But it's just one example of how one idea, pizza one day, can grow and grow and grow into something pretty significant.
Great. And a bit more about myself. First and foremost, I'm half Black and half Mexican from San Antonio, and I like to be a visible representative of such. I went to Howard University College of Medicine, residency at Mayo Clinic, and I did my fellowship in education at Beth Israel and Harvard Medical School's campus. And at Harvard Medical School, I was actually allowed to take on a couple roles in undergraduate medical education and also in diversity and inclusion. And the nice thing about these roles is I had a huge passion in undergraduate medical education and still do. I'm the clerkship director now at University of Arkansas. But a lot of my roles blended in with the priorities for that passion. And so I was the chair of the Dean's LGBT Advisory Committee and also the director of our diversity recruitment. And I'll talk more about this director of diversity recruitment role because it is the classic DEI role they're asking of us. And one, I was very proud of the work we did. We, over 3 years, did a great job in diversifying our residency and also providing a infrastructure for the residents to come in and be comfortable in that environment and hopefully stay on as faculty. The other thing I'm proud of is I was compensated for this role quite well professionally and financially. And one big way I was able to do this, and my department worked with me on it, is quantifying the work that I was doing. And so I could tell them I was on every single admission committee panel discussion. I was able to revamp our review process and use metrics that aren't necessarily race-based or gender-based, such as distance traveled metrics, gold humanism awards, and prioritizing things that we felt as a department were priorities. I was also involved in the medical student clerkship as assistant clerkship director, which is a big recruitment pool. Our visiting clerkship students are being funneled right to me, and so I was a big visible face for them inside the residency as they're advancing through that part. And then I was on the interview panel, so every single interview I would be present. Not just for our underrepresented minority applicants, but also for every applicant to see there's a diverse panel of faculty leadership here at Harvard. And lastly, I did phone calls, recruitments, and influenced a rank list. And after match, I was very passionate about maintaining that mentorship. And so all of this was, one of the nice things is because I was able to map this out, draw it out, we had planning and curriculum months before we started the process. I was able to say, this is how many hours I'm going to spend doing this. And they're able to compensate me for this.
So the question we're going to start answering is, how does this get me promoted and how does this get me time? Okay, so you're doing this stuff anyway. You're doing recruitment anyway. You're mentoring anyway. And so what you can do is try to think about, how does this translate into academic productivity? That can be like kind of overwhelming. It can feel like a big thing. I had never written a grant before. No one taught me how, but I started small. And so if you can start small and build momentum, think about the sort of thing that you're doing anyway that you can turn into a project with data, or that you can present to someone as, this is a project that should have data. Help me study it. And then suddenly you have a grant on your CV. You might, in that journey, meet other people who are doing similar work. And then you can make small partnerships, perhaps locally in other departments or within your own department, and scale from there. Another great thing to do is to come to places like SAEM and join committees like ADIEM. That's where you make connections. That's where I met Josh and then Jeff. That's where you can start to develop more robust projects across institutions and to collaborate on national presentations. And then if you're kind of known within your committees, you can start to get academy-sponsored presentations, which tend to have, well, just a little bit more visibility. And you can bring that back to your chair and say, look how productive I've been with the work that you've given me. And it goes on your CV.
You know, really what we're talking about is leveraging this work that we're doing to get like real, tangible, material support from leadership in our departments and our schools. This is also called being dispo-oriented. It is no different than showing up to your shift and you have a 102-year-old patient who says she feels a little bit dizzy. We know we are admitting that woman. Like, she, under no circumstances is she going home. So we build a plan to get us to the dispo that we have desired. Our disposition for ourselves is academic advancement. We want that associate professor. We want that full professor. We want that vice chair personship. We want to be the chair. We want to do those things. So we need to craft an academic plan using the work that we are doing to get to where we want to go. It's no different than what we've trained to do for our entire academic lives. The way to do that is to engage the 3 steps of academic promotion. Prove local necessity, develop your national presence, and then produce some scholarly production. We do this by interweaving the work that we're doing into the missions that our departments have already told us are so important to them. I would wager that everyone here works for a department that says, we have 3 missions. We take care of patients, we teach, and we produce scholarship. There might be some additional missions there, but almost every academic department has those 3 core tenets. And the work that we do in inclusion and bringing other people into emergency medicine and making sure that we are eliminating healthcare disparities moving forward is integrally interwoven into each of those. And if we can demonstrate and speak that language, that's how we can foray into getting the support we need to continue that work.
And I'll discuss more about what it means to be a local necessity. I was very proud of the work I did at Beth Israel. I felt really loved by them. And one big thing is if there's institutional goals, aligning yourself with that. It's one thing to say I have a desire to have minority students to feel comfortable in this campus and to come here. It's another thing to say we want our best recruits all across the board to feel comfortable coming here. There's other things you can do in terms of leveraging committee assignments, other roles. For example, my assistant clerkship director role, I interweave DEI programming into that role. And so the more available you are, the more present you are, the more indispensable you are to that program and your academic institution. Also, little tricks and trades that help with it as well. One, formalize everything. Mapping out what I did as director of diversity recruitment added so much validity to the work I was doing and allowed for compensation. If you can publish, please do your best to publish. I still regret not doing publications for the work we did there, but in most cases, my programming, my mentors pushed me to make sure the work I was doing was published and getting professional advancement for it. And then my last thing, and something I'm really good at and proud of, is being a good mentee. A lot of these higher academic leadership positions, they love being mentors. That's why they did this work. And I found myself in so many resourceful pathways and with publications I never thought possible because I had awesome mentorship. And I think it came with being a good mentee for them.
So once we get each of those 3 elements, Josh is talking about local necessity, Josh is talking about national presence and scholarly production. When we have those 3 elements, that is how you demonstrate value to the people who are looking to give you money. And you enter into the boardroom with them. You want to make it easy to get protected time. You want to make it easy for the department chair to be like, this is something I want to support. And how do you do that? You prove that if you're not doing that work anymore, your department will suffer. Stature will go down, publications will go down, presence on school and national level committees will go down because you are doing the good work that the department wants you to do. And we should be compensated fairly for that. So as we come to the end of our talk, we really want you to leave here with 3 main messages. Understand the data that's been presented here and elsewhere to help support the work that you are doing. Double down on those strategies and embed your work into the critical missions that your department has already lined out for you. I would wager to bet everyone in this room is already heavily invested in those other parts of the department and the mission. That's why we got into emergency medicine in the first place. Be dispo-oriented. Look where you want to go and chart your path to get there by demonstrating those 3 elements of demonstrable value: local necessity, national presence, and scholarly production. With that, it brings us to the end of our time. Thank you.